Hello everybody, my name is Bhavik Kumar and in this panel we will be discussing about AI education and mental decolonization. Before I begin, I would like to request our esteemed panelists to please introduce themselves. We'll start with ma'am.
Okay. Namaskar. I'm Dr. Asmita Vaidya, Principal, Government Law College, Mumbai.
Dr. Hari.
Yeah, good evening, Bhavik. I'm Dr. Hari Vasudevan, working as a principal of Sri Vilepale Kelvani Mandals, Dwarakadas J. Sangvi College of Engineering, Vilepale, Mumbai. Have been the principal of the college for the last 17 years. And I also work as a faculty member in the mechanical engineering department. And I've been in this profession for more than 3 decades now.
Thank you and welcome to the podcast, ma'am and sir. Professor, your introduction, please.
Namaskar, I am Dattesh Damodar Parulekar. I am a professor of international relations and geopolitics at Goa University. I've been teaching, I've been researching and consulting for the past 15 years in the area of strategic studies, key geographies, and foreign policy studies.
Welcome to this podcast. Thank you so much. So let's begin. And to begin with, this is for you, Dr. Hari. How do you interpret the values of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, where do you also feel that these ideals are valuable today as well?
Absolutely, Bhavik. You know, these are difficult times for everybody. We see too many things are happening across the world in terms of divisions, on many counts. So I feel it's our moral responsibility to move across the borders of caste, religion, qualifications, and all of that, and treat anybody and everybody around us as one family. We're all just like, if my finger hurts me, I don't really feel angry with my finger. But if somebody else's finger pokes in by mistake also into my eye, so much of anger comes in, because of that feeling of not me. But I think, we should move from this mine and not me to us and ours. I think that's very much needed, and in today's world it's all the more relevant. So the concept of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, I feel, is really relevant today, and we must do everything to promote that, because it is not just philosophical, it is not just emotional, it is something more than that. It is the ethical responsibility of all of us to adhere to these principles and put them into practice in our daily lives.
Thank you for these inputs, Professor Asmita. While from a law perspective, how do you look at interpreting these from a Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam perspective personally that you think of?
See, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam is a wonderful concept which we have taken from our ancient holy books. Particularly in Upanishada, it has been said. So see, we are, rather we can say that Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam means Vasudha. Vasudha is the mother of all nature. And Vasudha means mother. She is the Prithvi. And she is the mother of all creatures on the earth. And therefore, we must give due respect to the Vasudha. And when we talk about mother, it means it is a family. It's a nature's family. And therefore, I always say from the legal point of view, that we should now stop talking about human rights. We once upon a time claimed that we are humans, we are more intelligent than any creature on the earth. But the fact is, as we are intelligent, we should shoulder the responsibility to protect each and every living being on the earth, on the Vasudha. And we should treat it as a kutumba, as a family. And therefore, we should now start talking about the nature's right, not of the human rights. And that is the legal aspect of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. Secondly, I would like to add that if we want to imbibe this Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, then we'll have to go to the traditional knowledge, wherein it has been said very clearly that this concept itself, it promotes a brotherhood kind of a feeling, then caring, sharing, and those basic things which are very, very necessary to to grow together.
Sure.
And that is what exactly the law tells us. That is what exactly the preamble of our constitution tells us. And therefore, I do feel like a Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam do have complete legal aspect. And if we follow it, yes, happy conditions will be there throughout.
Thank you for these inputs. So, Dr. Datesh, you have in earlier years started to look at the international ways of living, working, and education that has come by from ages that we talked about offline, right? Your views, how do you interpret values and how morally are they relevant today from a Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam perspective?
Yeah, so firstly, let's understand this. I think we are blessed to be living in Bharat, which is a civilization that I call Chirantar and Nirantar. And the timelessness and the eternality of our civilization means that this is not a concept that we have either imbibed momentarily or we have borrowed from somewhere. This has been passed down to us for the last 5,000 years. Right now, if you see the world is facing intense geopolitical fragmentation. We are seeing ideological polarization, but we are seeing competitive hegemonic visions. Many say that the world is either Pax Americana or Pax Sinica, which is either American-led or China-led. And much of the world doesn't want to be fitted into this kind of a binary, both of which are about exploitation, domination, etc. What the world is looking at is options and solutions that have consensus. There is harmony, there is unity, and there is a certain degree of moral and ethical leadership. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam provides that moral template for India to be able to exercise its thought leadership in the world, and through its statecraft to be able to provide an actionable template of how the world can have a third way distinct from these two ways. And therefore, I do believe that not only is it an organizing principle for our society to move to a higher order elevation, but we can then disseminate this to the wider world to be able to find that planetary beneficence that ma'am so rightly talked about.
Great thoughts, Doctor. So, how do you infuse these in the current education system from an educational perspective?
Yeah, so we all acknowledge that the educational system of our country has been in a certain crisis. We have still been perpetuating Macaulay's education system in many different ways. All these solutions that we tried to find were basically tinkering. The new education policy certainly is a good step forward. I think the first thing is we have to bring in Indian knowledge systems as a mandatory component of our educational curriculum. We can't leave this to choice any longer for the simple reason, unless we teach our children, the young minds, as to the kind of civilizational antecedents and heritage that they draw on, we will never be able to bring a values-driven society of the kind we need. Materialism is fine, but what we need is that moral fabric, that moral spine in our leadership. And therefore, what Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam does is to bring that moral, ethical component to an education system that otherwise simply trains you for the market. Okay, we always talk in terms of skills and what we need in the country. But if you don't have Vivek, they always say when Vinash comes to you, the first thing it does is to take over your Vivek. That is your ability to deliberate, your ability to think, your ability to make informed decisions. So we have to understand, does our education system want to simply churn out entrepreneurs for the market to be able to fulfill the market's needs? Or do we actually want to create good citizens who will then be able to take our country forward? So I believe that our education system needs Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam to bring that ethical grounding that is so very important.
So, ma'am, taking this thought forward, to take our educational system forward from a legal perspective with this thought that Dr. Datesh spoke about.
Yes, it's what exactly he has said. I agree to it. Bharatiya jurisprudence or the fundamentals of Bharatiya Tattvajnan should be imbibed in our education system. Now, the thing is, it will take some time because it is not so easy. But Bharatiya jurisprudence must reach to the common mass. And how to reach it, and in fragmentation, how it can reach to the students first. That is very important. So I do feel like though it will take some time, but we can reach to the people, to the students through the conferences, seminar, write-ups and many things. In our curriculum, we can add many such very important topics like the Bharatiya cultural jurisprudence, because culture tells us what we are, as rightly pointed out, that it is based on some ethical values, it is based on some morals, good conscience, and therefore the Bharatiya cultural jurisprudence or Bharatiya dharma jurisprudence or even Bharatiya economic jurisprudence, it is very interesting to study. Even Bharatiya family jurisprudence or the jurisprudence relating to or based upon which the whole judicial system is based, that can be actually drafted and communicated to the students, particularly the Gen Zs, who can give, because if it is reaching to the students, it will bring a miraculous change in the society. And therefore, I do feel like education society must take some steps towards such kind of thing, wherein our jurisprudence, our fundamental principles should reach to each and every member of the society.
Thank you for your thoughts. So, Dr. Hari, as a leader in educational ecosystem that you are at the helm of affairs, right? How do you see this infusion happening of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam from India perspective globally? Your views, please.
See, Bhavik, very rightly said by my co-panelists, national education policy is there to change a lot of things. It will take time, I know. Bringing that Bharatiya culture in the thought process, making students realize that they need to be prepared not just for the careers, but for ensuring that the value system prevails. And it is not just me, but we all. That concept has to go into the minds of our students today. The subjects like universal human values that we have even in engineering these days, Indian knowledge systems, health and wellness, these are subjects that are making the students think about things from a holistic perspective, just beyond that technical, technology-oriented studies. So these are making a big difference, and AI has come in now. I'm sure AI is a cause of concern for everybody, both on the plus and the minus side. But I feel AI can be significantly used. People say AI cannot replace human beings. I also totally agree with that. But AI can do a lot more things. If people are able to curate things, okay, whatever is required, put in your thought process and put it in an AI tool like ChatGPT, it can give you the right things. But then you should have the right frame of mind to curate and get certain observations from that. So AI can actually be used as an enabler. AI will not be able to replace us because that sense of belonging, empathy, emotion, all these things AI cannot bring in. But AI can certainly help. In fact, ma'am is from the legal side. The other day, a few days back, we heard a news, one of the lawyers using ChatGPT and then getting fined by the High Court for 50,000 rupees. And because what he quoted and things like that were never there, it never happened, it seems. So we should train our students as to how to use ChatGPT kind of AI tools. In fact, the faculty members also should be trained, You can do a lot of things, because there are slow learners, there are fast learners, how to bring everybody on board. Slow learners can be given customized thought process to adjust at their pace things. AI can do that. Your assessment tools can do wonders. Rather than going for the traditional approach of pen and paper tests, too many, you can have AI-based tests. Assessment tools can be different. I think all this will make one feel that we care for others. See, basically, if you have to use education and AI, it is all the stakeholders like faculty members, students, and everybody should be made to feel interconnected. They should all feel that the value creation is together. It's not just independent. So education should never be just competition oriented. It should be collaboration and sharing things. So I think very much these things can really bring in, and our national education policy can actually reinvigorate the whole system by the Indian Bharatiya original thought process of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam can certainly be made to percolate into the mindset of people.
Thanks on your thoughts about AI. I want to come back to AI, but before that, Dr. Datesh, all of us here spoke about Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam from a India lens, India perspective. You have tremendous knowledge on the global impact changes that it can really make. Some of your thoughts were in countries which today are fighting wars, in countries where they are dominating, in countries where there are challenges of even basic requirements of life, right? How do you see Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam spreading in such challenging parts of the world?
Yeah, so that's a fantastic question. Like if you see, for example, in the world today, we were told some time back that democracies are the natural thing to have in terms of political systems, because democracies are stable, they are progressive, they give the allowance for diversity, etc. We are seeing all around the world today, most democracies are in chaos. Whether it's what's happening in the United States, the immigration crisis in Europe, many other lone wolf attacks in many other parts of the world. And probably the one country that the world has always, in a sense, mocked and said that, oh, this is a paradoxical, chaotic country. Many people have said this is chaotic anarchy in India. That India looks like an anchor of stability. What is it that makes India look like this anchor of stability amongst a sea of chaos? It is not just the fact that India exists, but it is what is eternal to India and what comes out through the best policies of the government. Now, let me just tell you how the world, learns from it. And a couple of examples here. We hosted the G20 in 2023. The Prime Minister gave a call that post-COVID, we were told by the World Health Organization that 2/3 of all viruses which will now originate will be zoonotic in nature. And the transmissions and the mutations will be such, they'll be complex in nature, so get ready for it. Everyone has said that one of the ways to deal with this is to have a composite collective understanding of our nature. The Prime Minister and his leadership showed when India in its roadmap on its presidency said that we are putting forward a resolution for a One Health policy, where we have to look at human health, we have to look at animal health, we also have to look at plant health. Nobody talks about a principle as higher order and as elevated as this. This can only come from a Sanskriti and a Parampara that has got Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam rooted in it. The Prime Minister has often said, again, something very interesting, that the world has seen how Indian, imperial or Indian kings, etc., have gone far and wide. But India has been appreciated around the world. Today, there are concerns about a country like China, which weaponizes everything. They weaponize tourism, they weaponize many other aspects. They weaponize blue economy, they weaponize critical minerals. India is the one that comes to the rescue of everyone. So much so that you had a former Brazilian president talk about India being the Hanuman during the time of COVID, because we were able to provide vaccines to more than 100 countries of the world. And the point that has to be made here is, as we have often said, Bharat ne dunya ko yuddha nahi diya hai, Bharat ne dunya ko buddha diya hai, right? And this is something that the Prime Minister very eloquently had said some time back, and he keeps reaffirming that. In every conflict, India is on the side of peace. India is never a warmonger. We don't fuel wars. We don't provide weapons to instigate wars. We are always on the side of trying to bring peace. But we recognize that peace doesn't come by being coward or pusillanimous. Peace comes when you are strong. So we should never make this mistake of thinking that our Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam has only taught us peace. We are Shanti Priya. But all Shanti will come only when you have strength and you have Samriddhi. So Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam talks about harmony and balance. So you need the balance of your accomplishment, you need the balance of the values that you can exude, and it is so very important in our world today.
Thank you, Dr. Datesh, for such thoughts, which now, Dr. Hari, when you started to talk about AI, right, and when the Sanskar and the Sanskriti are unparalleled globally of India, the LLMs that are learning today, this concept of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, are the LLMs learning? Because it is only passive intelligence that is being used by today's generation. Critical thinking or intelligent self-reliance, which is necessary to ignite this kind of passion about Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, not just in certain parts of the world, but across the world, AI in education system should support this. How do we make this possible?
See, large language models are based on, these language models are done using algorithms, using big time data. So the data that you actually put into, what is the authenticity of all that is something that is to be checked. And also there could be algorithmic bias, you're not sure about what it does. So what I feel is it should merely be used as a tool to aid the right way of giving value system to students, to education, rather than it being used as something that is a standard thing for everybody.
But doctor, the challenge is whether it can be used in a right way or wrong way. The feeding of data, that in whatever model it may be happening, today's challenge is the concepts and the fundamentals of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam getting included in the LLMs is a question mark. Professor Asmita, are there ways and means in our constitution, in our law books, where this fundamentals should also get into LLMs?
Yes. Now, the use of AI in every field is but obvious, but it is too challenging. It is because I'll just go with some case laws. Cars are coming without driver, and they are running on the basis of AI, the commands which are given, and the software which is fitted there. Now, if anything goes wrong and accident happens, who will be held responsible? The company, or as there is no driver, the owner of the company. So the liability concept is not yet been fixed on anybody. We will take the responsibility of that. Similarly, in case of doctors' machines, even AI are working. They just set the things, and if anything happens again wrong and the patient gets off, then in that case, who will be responsible? The machine, the company who has made the machine, or the doctors who have said, or anything which technically had happened with that machine. So there also the concept of liability yet not been fixed on anybody. So with the coming of AI, of course, there are n number of legal questions that has been put before us. I always say wherever human goes, for every human action there is a legal reaction. And similarly, if technologically we are getting advanced, we are required to have solutions, legal solutions on it. Because now this AI or cyber, they are all borderless. And therefore, challenge is much bigger. And in that context, if we are going with some important fundamental principles, like we are going with moral, ethical values, even with certain jurisprudence, that is the basic fundamental principles, not to harm anybody, or with the sharing and caring, or brotherhood or fraternity, that kind of a concepts which is already imbibed in our constitution. Yes, it is going to help us and it is going to give the directions to us. Sure. And therefore, there is always a need of a legal shield to every person, even if technologically we are advanced, we are going to the space, but space laws are there. We are going with the computers, we have a lot many information laws. And for every such action, even for the AI, we are coming with the laws.
You want to add something?
Yeah, so very relevant, very aptly put in by Dr. Vaidya. That's why now ethics in AI, responsible AI, work is going on all this. So I'm sure like International Atomic Energy Agency, they will have a regulatory body to be dealing with AI practices in the world. So technology is there to make our lives better, but at the same time, the darker side of the technology is also to be seen. So I think governments, policymakers and regulators are at work on all this. It is very important that we need to do all this. But I would, as a technology oriented person, I would definitely advocate the use of AI with a clear understanding that AI can't replace us, AI cannot set things right, but AI can certainly accentuate our efforts, make things faster, better. But you should have that upper hand to decide as to to what extent the AI can be utilized.
Something to
Yes,
it?
please.
The two basic differences between AI and human, that is artificial intelligence and human intelligence, is that human intelligence goes with the conscious mind, which is lacking in AI. And therefore, whenever we see the use of AI in education, in medical field, in technological field, we have to see that it is to be operated with the conscious mind by the human being only. That is there, and for that only we are actually putting it in a legal corners, legal square.
So Dr. Dattesh, technology is here to stay. We all know. Nobody is questioning that AI will stop somewhere. We all will have to harness technology. Is given. My challenge still in my mind is this, that the concept of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam in the world of AI, as a critical thinker, while using AI, while I use AI, I ingest content or input with that conscious mind of the thought that we are speaking about, right? Because what challenge comes in today's LLMs is what is fed is more Western, not what holistically should be fed. And if users get that fabricated outcome, the thought process will then end up being, okay, this is right. So how do we bring that value system in our AI for education as well, is my thought and question, and that's where my head is still spinning to find a solution. If you have any thoughts, Dr. Dattesh.
No, I think this is a very profound question that you have asked. See, the point here is, as you rightly said, technology is here to stay, and we have to look at all technologies in terms of being a double-edged sword. So where I come down on this whole aspect of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam is that Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam is towards creating an ethical AI will go to the heart of the choices you make with AI, right? There are certain societies who will build AI simply for domination, simply for exploitation. So the attitude or the vivek, as I once again come back to, the reasoning or the rationale behind using AI as an instrument is typical to certain countries. We need to use the value system of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam and engender this in our exponents of AI, so that the AI models that are created in India are created keeping in mind collective good, wider beneficence, not just my individual good, but what happens, what is best for society, how I can drive certain models through value systems. That has to be the most important thing. The second is, we always talk of technology, but the most important aspect that so we are going to have a scramble or a race in AI for who will be able to dominate technical standards. Now, when technical standards are established, again, they go to the heart of the intent behind technical standards. And that is where, if we embrace Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam as a creed in our functioning, in creating an AI ecosystem and AI society, then we will also be using those technical standards for goodness, for wider good. And that's how you will be able to then use AI as a betterment tool rather than a vicious tool for exploitation. Having said that, I also do believe that AI can be used even in terms of taking Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. Like, for example, there was a time sometime back when everyone said, oh, these Netflix serials, etc., right? They are going to spoil an entire generation, or the Ramayana and Mahabharata that is shown now is no longer as exciting as Raman Sagar's, Ramayana used to be. But we also have to understand that generations are changing, and with changing generations, critical thinking also will not be how it was generations ago. Critical thinking as a methodology will remain, but critical thinking will also develop new instruments to critically think. So AI, if we develop those algorithms in our country, that is the crux. The crux is not allowing the AI to come from either US, China, or any other part of the world, and for us to simply be victims of what is called as a conformity bias. What we need is, we need to drive our own algorithms, so we will know what these algorithms are being created for and what is our end state, what is our end objective. That is the way we can probably tame or moderate AI and ensure that Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam can be, kind of integrated with our embrace of AI.
Very well said. So, while we want to embrace AI from this thought process of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam and its spirit that should live when such models are being built, do you know any global standards, like you said, technology standards that have to come by, that's being formed for to ensure that the spread of AI in today's education system that's being learned by students or kids or children from that aspect that you have come across or not yet?
Because it's still frontier science in many ways. We have not really necessarily done the kind of foundational work in our country because it's still very new, right? Right now, what we are seeing is the richer countries obviously have been able to create these dominant models. We are playing obviously catch up in this regard. So education is probably, unfortunately, going to be one of the later areas which is going to embrace it, because while it's a building block, a lot of focus is on creating technology to solve everyday problems. So AI for agriculture or AI for space, AI for defense, that has become the larger thing. But sometime down the line, education is going to have to embrace this. So right now we are still in that nascent period where we haven't quite done that foundational work. So in that sense, there is nothing of an example as such to be able to derive on. But this will definitely be one of the most essential things, because nation building rests on education, and therefore AI for education is going to have to be a government priority.
Yes, Dr.
Yeah, I can add on to that. You talked about examples. Now India is developing Bharat Gen, parallel to ChatGPT.
Sure.
We are developing our own Bharat GPT. Earlier, in fact, the name of the startup was Bharat GPT. Now they have changed it to Bharat Gen. It's an initiative of IIT Bombay. They jointly with a few other IITs like Delhi, Madras and all that. And I think Science and Technology Secretary Dr. Abhay Karandikar is also part of this work. So they're all coming out with Indian-based models where Indian emotions, speech-based, sound-based models being formed that is more pertinent to our Indian values, Indian languages. So I'm sure in time to come, the kind of AI startups that we are now encouraging, even at the government level, will come out with things that can deal with, that Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam centric technology-based decision-making thing. It will come. I'm sure it will come. But I am again saying it very clearly that AI will never be able to replace human thoughts, human empathy, and all other things that we expect to have, which could only holistically embrace Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. So AI is just a tool. Pick and choose as you want it.
Sure, Professor. Over to you.
Yes. The concept of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam can reach to the every corner of globe with the help of AI. But for that, because AI do have its own language, so as rightly pointed out, different kind of startups should be made with the Indian origin, so that they can imbibe the Indian culture, Indian thoughts, Indian morals, Indian thinking. Everything should be there, because unless and until that reaches to the whole globe, the concept of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam cannot reach and cannot be interpreted in the perfect way. And therefore, for that purpose, I think AI can be the best tool which can be used to reach every corner. That is, the concept is such a global and such a beautiful concept that it should reach to every person on the globe. Then and then only we can have that idea to come into the fact.
And also why it is so relevant today, the AI tools, because India is a large country. What percentage of our population stay in cities and what percentage is in the rural areas? Children in the rural areas don't have access to basic facilities in education institutions. So that digital advantage that if we can take and ensure that the best quality faculty who teaches in a good institution in the city, his or her lectures are given, for the benefit of students. I think those kind of AI interference in ensuring that this percolates down to this thing, that sort of justice that we can, provide can ensure that the value system holds in high spirit, It's very important because there is a huge divide, the whatever you say about technology, I think that AI can do a lot of. That's why I've been trying to talk more about AI and the importance that Madam and Dr. Parulekar also mentioned about it. It's just important.
I want to conclude this by asking one last question to Dr. Dattesh. With Western mental colonization, right? Today, if AI mental colonization happens, the strength and the spirit of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, how do we infuse that AI mental colonization may happen, but we shouldn't leave the fundamentals of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam behind?
Yeah, so that is why what we have to do is we have to ingrain Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam at the very basic level of our education. In fact, one of the things that I have been saying a lot over the last now 2 days is this exhibition that has been here. I think it's a very vivid and a very powerful demonstration. See, you can talk a lot to people, but ultimately if you want them, अगर उनको आत्मसात करना है वसुधैव कुटुंबकम को, तो उनको वसुधैव कुटुंबकम को जीना पड़ेगा, right? और अगर हम वो करें, for example, in our curriculums now we have NSS, etc., right? We have to bring in the values of that in our NSS rather than just doing these things, because ultimately Western colonization of the mind, as we say, has been a very powerful instrument. And it's not going to go away. It's been around because it has some element to it. Plus, we also have to understand that there is a view of a section in India and around the world that if you have to be seen as progressive, you also have to not reject everything that comes from the West. So how do you maintain your internal strength is to be true to your traditions. And I'll tell you this, I visit China very often and I observe some of the sociological things. And I see in that country, and they say the same thing about India, because these are two civilizations with thousands of years of antecedents. They always keep saying that we will accept what comes from the world, but without ensuring that we give up what is inherent to us. So, for example, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam doesn't have to be very high, lofty values. Even in terms of our household familial practices, are those practices remaining the same or are they now changing? Because that is also colonization of the mind. The colonization of the mind is only not what happens in the classroom. If your food habits have changed, if the way you are functioning in the house has changed, if family is staying together but not talking to each other, not sitting on that dining table, right? You don't meet each other, you don't talk to each other, nuclear families, then that is also a loss to Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. So the point here is to ingrain Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam as a life mission and a life practice. If we do that, then even though we have the onslaught of the West on our mind will have the fortitude to realize that yes, this is one of those onslaughts happening, but my moral core, my fundamental core in terms of how my identity is, that is steeped in Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam and the values that it exudes.
I can add one line that we'll have to actually have a balance between the human minds and machine minds, artificial intelligence and human intelligence. Then and then only we can achieve this Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam.
Thank you so much. We have some time, so I would like to do a bit of rapid fire. Your answer should max be one line. Let's try to do that, and we'll do with Professor Asmita first, and we'll do it this way. Just 4 questions, quick rapid fire.
Okay.
One word or max one line. Okay. Okay. So, ma'am, to begin with, and the same goes for all of us, right? Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam in education, practical or idealistic?
Absolutely practical.
I feel absolutely practical. Yes.
Practical will depend on how it is instrumentalized.
Got you. AI in education, boon or challenge?
It's a challenge.
It's a boon, but mixed with challenges that has to be tackled very carefully.
Okay.
My line will be simple. All technologies are double-edged swords. It depends on the exponent.
Awesome. Okay. Ma'am, human development in education, skill building or conscious building?
Conscious building. It is very, very important, sir.
The role of AI as a teacher or AI as a teaching assistant?
Teaching assistant.
Okay.
It cannot go beyond human minds.
I do believe that AI can only be a teaching assistant, not a teacher. Can't replace.
No, I would say AI is a teacher because, but as with all teachers, it is the way in which it mentors you. So AI will mentor you in a certain way. So I don't think we can call it a teaching assistant because it is going to come and become a teacher at some point in time. It's going to overwhelm us.
No, what we mean is AI can be used to assist you in ensuring that this value system goes to student. That is the thing, you know. You can't come out with algorithms that will automatically play with the human minds and help in the transformation of the student. I don't think any models have come till today, you know. So it can only assist. It's important for us to use the right kind of tool and also to know as to when to use it.
Yeah.
So that's the meaning of teaching
So
assistant.
the argument really was that it's going to blur the lines because as we today see, we can talk of assistant and not. As AI gets more and more overwhelming on us, it's probably going to blur the lines. So I would still say it has the role of being a teacher, but a teacher doesn't mean, even in our daily lives, the teacher has a role to play. But there are many others who play a role in our life also. So the teacher doesn't necessarily control us.
So I want to pick one more question because of this difference in opinion, right? And the question is, can we humanize AI? Yes or no, ma'am?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, how about you, sir? No. How do you think?
Difficult.
Okay. Okay, with this, thank you so much, Professor Asmita, Dr. Hari Vasudevan, and Dr. Dattesh, for spending this time with us and sharing your insights about AI in education and the mental colonization that we are dwindling or we are wanting to solve for today. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.